right, welcome to the Dave K Show. I'm David K. Gyro, and we're so glad everybody joined us again today on this rainy Saturday afternoon here in New Roads, Louisiana. We're broadcasting, as always, from the beautiful, historic Julian Pardris Arts and Museum Center here in downtown New Roads, right across the banks from beautiful Falls River. And we have a very special guest again today on our show. We can't wait to get started in this engaging conversation. I think it's something that everybody out there needs to hear and heed what we're about to discuss today. But first, we always want to put a plug in for who, Datha?
PointCopiaReporter.com. Y'all got to check it out. It's the oldest locally owned, continuously operating news website. Since 2012, they have been Point Copia's news and information hub, so check them out. It's PointCopiaReporter.com.
All right, great, Datha. So that being said, okay, we got to discuss, before we go any further and introduce our guest, we got to discuss this outfit you're wearing right now in the spirit of the Avengers movie that came out, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I understand where your heart is. Your heart is in the right spot, but you're almost there. Okay, you're almost there, right? So we're gonna break this outfit down with our guest in a second to make sure we don't confuse our guest and everything. So, okay, without further ado, so our special guest we have today is Mr. Roman David Pizzolato from Plaquemine, Louisiana. Roman operates a facility that he's going to tell us all about in Plaquemine. And really one of the things that I want to discuss that he does that can benefit us all is keeping ourselves safe, whatever we do, whether you're male or female, especially the females, keeping ourselves safe in all our day-to-day activities, whatever we're doing. Right. If we do have a physical encounter, God forbid, we know what to do. We can defend ourselves. We can have some tips and everything to keep ourselves safe and everything. So our next guest is going to help us with that and more. So without further ado, Mr. Roman Pizzolato, how are you doing today?
I'll tell you what, it was taking my life into my own hands to get here today.
Right.
It was coming down in sheets on the way here a few times.
Yes, and it's about to come down again,
yeah.
Right. Right, so tell us pretty much about what you do and what your business is all about in Plaquemine.
I'm the owner and head instructor at Empire Mixed Martial Arts in Plaquemine, Louisiana. I started doing MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing about 12 years ago, and from day one, I knew it was my dream to be able to open a facility that I could teach and transfer all that knowledge that I was picking up to
right.
people, and be a coach. I was a coach in high school. I coached football and different things like that. So it's always been in me to teach and coach. I grew up with my mother being a teacher. So I always had that want to be able to pass on knowledge to people. And when I opened up my gym, one of the biggest things was because I was bullied as a child.
Right.
I was the kid that got off the bus every single day crying.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. I was twice everybody's size. I was the quiet kid that wrote poetry, that sang in the choir, and drew. I liked art and different things like that. And even though I was twice everybody's size and everything, I was never one to stand up for myself. And I got bullied by boys and girls, picked on me and everything else. And
what age were you at this time frame?
I mean, this started going on from probably about second or third grade all the way up until high school.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Kids
are so mean.
And
yes, they are.
Did
things turn like physical or violent or anything, or just words?
A few times when I was a child, it did get physical. I was never one to fight back because my dad always told me, because of my size and my strength, I always had a responsibility not to hurt somebody, even if I'm defending myself. Because with one punch or with anything, if I threw somebody the wrong way, because I was so much bigger than everybody else,
right,
I could hurt them.
Yeah.
And it's funny, she's wearing the Marvel characters outfit because like Uncle Ben, Spider-Man's uncle, told him, with great power comes great responsibility. And my dad basically told me the same thing. Because I was so much bigger and stronger than everyone else, I had the responsibility not to hurt someone.
Wow.
Right.
And I try and instill that in all of my students at my gym now, with my kids. They know that there are only 3 times that they're allowed to use their jiu-jitsu, which is predominantly what we teach to the kids, and that's in a competition, at our gym, or defending yourself or someone you care about when there is no other choice.
Right.
Because they have the responsibility with their knowledge base, they can potentially hurt someone.
Yes,
Because the person they're defending themselves doesn't really know what they're doing. They're just being a bully. They figure they're bigger and stronger, so they can beat you up.
A lot of times, their tactics that they're using you is unorganized. They just like throwing punches. Where you know where your placement is going to be.
Exactly.
You're organized in your comeback.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's a fine line. It's a very fine line from where do you, from being the person who is strictly defending themselves to becoming the person who's actually hurting someone. You know, and that's one of the things I love about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Is that you can defend yourself without really having to hurt somebody. You know, it's not throwing punches. It's not kicking someone, you know, while they're down or anything like that. We talk about women's self-defense or even kids or anything else against a bully in school especially, where nowadays if you throw a punch, you're out. I mean, they're going to expel you and everything else. Where if a child has to, they know how to just basically throw someone to the ground so they can get up and run away, or get to the point where they can choke them or put them in a position where it's not hurting them. Their opponent's going to quit.
Gonna scare the crap out of them.
They're going to quit before they ever get to a point where they actually hurt the person trying to hurt them.
So to me, it's more of a controlled thing that you're doing to the other person.
Oh, absolutely.
So, you know what your boundaries are, what your limits are, and you stop on your head, basically.
With the training that you do every single day, you know how far you can pull on somebody's arm before it pops. You know how tight to choke somebody before they literally pass out and go to sleep. You know, you can control a person until they finally just give up and quit.
Right.
You know, and even if it's just a few seconds, when we're talking about ladies self-defense, there's something called a leg triangle, where if you're getting assaulted, you have someone on top of you, you use your legs to literally choke them until they pass out. And they won't wake up.
It's like the figure four that the wrestlers do?
Yes, but you have an arm inside, and it's called a blood choke. You're cutting off blood to the brain. And
just doing it with your legs rather than your arms.
Yes. And in that position, once they go to sleep, you're talking 5 to 10 seconds before they wake up. 5 to 10 seconds in an assault situation is a very long time.
Yes.
For you, it's a long time. For 5 seconds, I can run around to the other side of a building and find someone to help me. You know, 10 seconds, I can run halfway down the street and flag down a car. It's a very long time to get to get in a better situation. You know, that doesn't seem like that much, but you'd be amazed how fast you can run when your life is on the line, and how far you can run in 5 or 10 seconds.
Right. Wow. So that being said, I want to go and talk about. You talk about jiu-jitsu is I guess the discipline or the art that you.
That's what we predominantly teach.
So when you talk about all the different disciplines like karate, there's all kind of different stuff out there. What is different with your thing that you do?
I'm not going to be, and you see it a lot of times. Other martial arts coaches, they try and tear down other things. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. I'm a Muay Thai guy. I love those two styles. Those are predominantly my styles. At the same time, I do think karate, taekwondo, and all of those other martial arts that you'll see, the trendy things like Krav Maga and stuff like that, they work. I will agree that they work against someone who doesn't know what they're doing. You know. That being said, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is what I teach, I would consider it a what they call an absolute martial art. I think there are 3 absolute martial arts. One is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the other is judo, and the third is basic freestyle wrestling.
Interesting. Wow.
Or any type of wrestling, whether it's Greco-Roman, freestyle, or anything like that.
Do they ever combine those disciplines sometimes?
Well, in MMA, I mean, I train some judo. I do I do all of my jiu-jitsu. I do a little bit of wrestling and everything. So there are martial arts that kind of combine several of those.
Like overlap.
Yeah, you look at Sambo. That if you know MMA, that Fedor Emelianenko, who they call him the last emperor, he's considered one of the, if not the greatest martial artists of all time. Heavyweight, has beaten almost everybody. Fought a lot in Japan and things like that. He's a Sambo world champion. He and his brother are both Sambo world champions. And Sambo, you would think it's MMA because they wear gloves, but they also wear a gi top like we would wear in jiu-jitsu or judo. They do throws, they do submissions, they throw strikes, and it's almost like a combination of everything. It's similar to what you would find in MMA.
Right, very interesting. Anything to add to that, Dathan?
Not much. I mean, I don't know that much about fighting except you hit people and they pass out.
Going back to the absolute, I said absolute martial arts. Those three are absolute martial arts, and the reason being is, if in even karate or taekwondo or any martial art that involves striking, all right, you have what you call a puncher's chance. You know, you take two opponents exactly the same size, same weight, all right. One of them knows kickboxing, one of them doesn't. The guy that doesn't know any kickboxing can still get a lucky punch right on what you call a button, right on the back of the jaw or somewhere, and knock the other person out.
You gotta remember that, Dave.
Yes.
You know, the button.
There's always a puncher's chance. So even if that fight happens 100 times, once, even if it's just once out of 100, that guy that doesn't know anything has that chance to knock the other guy out, which is why it's not an absolute martial art. Whereas in judo, jiu-jitsu, or wrestling, there's no lucky choke.
Right.
You're not going to luck up and choke a guy who knows more than you in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
You're not going to luckily hip toss a guy that knows judo. You know, you're not going to shoot in for a double leg takedown on a guy that knows how to wrestle.
Right.
There's no luck involved in that. It is pure skill. And it doesn't matter how athletic you are. I mean, you could get a big old guy that's really, really strong and athletic against someone half their size that knows judo or jiu-jitsu really, really well. And sure, he might be able to get him to the ground, especially in jiu-jitsu where you learn how to fight from your back. He might be able to get him to the ground. He might get on top. And the next thing you know, he's going to be screaming and hollering because his arm's bent backwards.
Right.
You know? There's no luck involved in it. You have to know exactly what you're doing.
Right.
And Datha, you mentioned earlier one of your family one of your close friends boxed before, right?
Yeah, Tim used to box.
Tim used to box,
Yeah,
right?
he was good. He was real good.
Well, so when you're comparing boxing,
I mean, he still is good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like riding a bike, you never forget, right?
Yeah.
So comparing boxing to all the other martial arts and skills and everything, is there any main difference that boxers go through in their training, pretty much?
Well, your boxers, if you watch boxing today, they pick on it a lot. They call it point fighting because a lot of boxers they throw a lot of punches and what you call punches and bunches, and they just looking to land a few more than the other guy, throw more than the other guy, so the percentages look better and everything else, and the judge give them the points to win the round.
Right.
And that's why you see so many championship fights and things go a full 12 rounds, you know, because nobody's looking for that knockout blow. Whereas in something like MMA, or kickboxing even, where you only fight 3 rounds in most MMA fights, unless it's a championship fight, which is 5 rounds, and most kickboxing matches, which are only 3 to 6 rounds, and so there's a different mentality. You're trying to knock this guy out because if you lose in MMA in a 3-round MMA fight, if you lose the first 2 rounds, you could win the 3rd round. You're going to lose the fight. Whereas in boxing, an 8 to 10 round, 12 round fight, you lose 4 or 5 rounds, you can still win the fight.
Right.
In MMA, combinations are hard. It's for instance, boxers might throw 5 or 6 punches in a combination. MMA guys throw 2 or 3. Boxers throw where everything's set up off the jab. In boxing, you don't see the jab as prevalent in MMA. Everything's more of a power punch. In kickboxing, everything's meant to set up the kick. Even your strikes, your hand strikes, your 1, 2, 3 combinations and stuff, there's always going to be a kick coming afterwards.
Right.
You know? So in boxing, the stances are different, all of that kind of stuff. The training itself, as far as the fitness aspect, is still relatively the same. You know, guys run, guys lift weights, guys do cardio and circuit training and everything else. But the way you strike is completely different. I used to be a great kickboxer. When I first started doing MMA, I loved Muay Thai. I would spar with a boxer just doing boxing sparring, and they would eat me up.
Wow.
Because I can't use my legs. The combinations are different. They'd hit me 5 or 6 times before I got the first counter in. Whereas you take that boxer and let him come in and spar me with kickboxing where he doesn't know how to kick, it's a different stance. And he's going to limp out the gym after the first round because I'm going to kick his leg so much he doesn't know what to do anymore.
Right.
You know.
Right. Very interesting. So, in light of all of that we're talking about, you've taken the kickboxing and the jiu-jitsu and made an art out of it, and really perfected your craft, I guess you could say, right? So that's really good for people like you that want to do that. But for the average everyday person that needs some self-defense skills, I want to kind of go over that. We're going to talk about the things that everybody needs to know. Like, me being a paramedic, I think everybody that graduates high school needs to know CPR and first aid.
I agree.
Guaranteed.
Absolutely.
Everybody probably that graduates from high school needs to know some basic first aid, self-defense.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
That's one of the things why I love jiu-jitsu so much is it's because its ability to adapt for basic self-defense. I mean, it is made and meant for the smaller person to be able to not to overpower, but to defeat the bigger person that's stronger and everything else.
Right.
And all martial arts have that moniker. They all say that it's this way and everything, and it's true. Now, don't get me wrong. You get two guys that both know jiu-jitsu. One's bigger than the other one. The bigger guy has the advantage. But you take someone who is, for instance, I have we talked about this earlier. I have a 15-year-old girl at my gym who's been in my adult class since she was 12. She's 5 foot tall. She weighs 120 pounds. Grown men in my gym are reluctant to train with her.
Wow.
Grown men leave my gym talking about they're going to put ice on their elbows. You know, I mean,
wow.
5'10", 6 foot tall, 185-pound grown men in their 30s and 40s that train with Madison and talk about having to go put frozen peas on their arm when they get
incredible.
home.
That's because she has the knowledge of what to do, right?
She has the knowledge, and they when they first started didn't have that knowledge. So that's proof. I mean, you got a teenage girl who can defeat a grown man.
Well, that and they don't probably think she's got it.
Well, and that's
the funny
right,
part because
exactly.
it's the little people that are the biggest
the element of
firecrackers.
surprise.
No attacker ever thinks that the person they're attacking can beat them. That's why
Right.
they're attacking them.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't attack the person you think can beat you up. You know, you
True.
always the people who want to assault you typically assault you because they feel that they're confident you can be beat.
Right.
They're bigger, they're stronger, you know, they're more aggressive. They're not expecting that coming from
that smack down.
exactly. So
Right.
when you look at this
Right.
15-year-old, this tiny little 15-year-old girl, you're like, oh, I just if I lay on her too hard, she's gonna break, and then she breaks you.
Right,
You know?
right. That's obviously the element of surprise. You know, that's great. So let's, they always say that prevention is the best cure, right? Let's not even get
Yes.
into this position to begin with. Let's
Yes.
stay out of this. But if we get in a position, well, let's go ahead and deal with it. Let's talk about some different things. Let's say Datha, you for instance, right? So
I think beating up somebody could be fun though.
yeah, you might.
I
you
have
might,
to say, Tim taught me some stuff,
yes.
and I learned to swing.
Yeah, there you go. That's great. That's
I
great.
like
it's
it.
It's all about confidence.
I know, and he
You
said
know,
I was
right.
pretty good.
Even the prevent. You talk about prevention. Being
Right.
confident will prevent someone from attacking you. If you walking around, you know, with you kind of head down and everything else, and someone's looking to attack you.
Situational awareness.
Yes,
Right?
it's
Right.
that situational awareness.
Right.
You don't know who's walking around. You're looking somewhere else. You're looking down at your phone like everyone
Yes,
does
right,
nowadays.
yes.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Exactly, right.
They're gonna put a law against that sooner or
But
later.
if you
at
walking
least
if
while
you're
driving.
walking through the mall parking lot or something after shopping for Christmas or something like that, and your head is up, you're confident, you're walking around looking at your surroundings, 9 times out of 10 that person is not going to attack you.
Yes.
If you're walking through the parking lot with
well,
you
yeah,
know,
because then you can't
looking
exactly
at
identify
you're looking
them.
like this, and you're texting your girlfriend or something like that, and then somebody walks up behind you and hits you in the head.
Boom.
You never even see it coming.
Well, you
Yes.
can't identify them either.
Yeah, you never even see it coming.
Exactly.
And don't get me wrong, there's certain things. If you go to these women's self-defense seminars, that as much as I love my law enforcement, and we back them 100%, some of these seminars that they do just don't make any sense to me. I've been to some of them. A lot of times, seminars are kind of a false sense of security for people. You go to a 2-hour seminar, they throw all of this stuff at you. You walk out the door and don't remember half of it. Are you really going to be able to do the few things you remember on a moment's notice?
Right.
Because you don't train them every single day. You can't expect a professional baseball player, you don't expect him to go out and hit home runs if he doesn't practice his swing
True.
every single day. It's the same thing with self-defense. You have to practice this situation all the time so that you can be comfortable.
Yes.
We have a saying in jiu-jitsu, you have to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation.
That's great, right. So what you got to get is those motor skills going where they're
Yes.
automatic. When something happens,
Yeah.
it's
Where
automatic.
the training takes over.
Right.
You know, the training, and don't get me wrong, that situational awareness where, you know, you're always out, because nowadays you have to be paranoid. You almost have to be.
Well, yeah. There's
With
crazy
everything
people
that's
everywhere.
going on nowadays. But there's a few things, you know, that people talk about. Well, if you're really worried, call someone on your phone as you're walking to your car. That way you actually have someone on the phone.
Or just pretend you have it
Or
to your ear.
you can pretend, yeah.
Because they're not going to know.
Because they may think, oh, well, if I attack this person, somebody's going to know.
Yeah, in real time, right.
You know,
Right.
in that moment, and they might be able to identify me or whatever. The phone's on, they can record. It's getting recorded the entire time. You know, someone is on the other line.
Yes.
But that old 80s and 90s self-defense stuff that they used to teach, that poke in the eye, knee in the groin, stomp on the foot stuff.
Right.
You know, yeah, if you get a
It's
clear shot
practical.
at somebody in the groin, that might slow them down a little bit. But you're talking about a grown man
running with a limp.
who's in a rage a lot of times.
Doesn't feel
when
any
it comes
pain
to
most
women.
Well, then it just makes them more mad.
It makes them more upset.
Yes.
It's gonna mace and everything. That stuff might work sometimes, but you're talking about someone who could possibly be on drugs. That those something like mace that's supposed to burn their eyes or their lungs and everything isn't going to work as much because they're in that rage.
It all off.
The adrenaline is pumping and everything else. So you have to learn how to be calm in that situation and doing it 2 to 3 days a week. Being in that situation where I know I can defend myself against somebody twice my size. You know?
Right. All right, so let's go over some scenarios. Let's do some real world practice right here, okay?
Oh, Lord, practice.
Yes. Well, say mental practice, I guess.
Okay.
You could say. Let's
I wasn't
think about
prepped
it.
for
No,
that.
no.
I didn't bring any mats or gloves or anything like that.
Spot like that.
Okay,
I can't fight in my Avengers dress.
Well, on the future episodes, we're gonna put a mat down here.
Look, we can do that.
We're gonna go handheld with our cameras.
I will bring some mats. I can tell you that now.
That'd be a lot of fun, actually. You said you like to do it. You want to bring people in the fight, so
I'll smack down.
I can
might
show
get
some
smacked
stuff.
down, but I will try.
I'd love to show
smack
a few
down.
things.
That'd be great. So let's do a scenario right here. Okay, so we always think of women being a little bit more vulnerable than men, which probably I guess a lot of times that's true. So let's say, for instance, Datha or any other woman, you're outside and you're shopping or whatever. You're doing your business. You're by yourself. You're doing your business. And so, what are some attitudes, some attributes she should have when she's out and about doing her daily routine, going to the grocery store, doing whatever, walking in the parking lot back to her car? What are some things that Datha or anybody that should?
Well,
should
like
be?
we said, that situational awareness where you kind of have to be paranoid. Get your eyes off your phone. Get your hand out of your purse and everything. If you're really worried about a certain situation, you're alone, you're walking to your car from the grocery store or the mall or something like that, make sure you have everything you need in your hand.
Parking garage too.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. That's where it always happens.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Oh, that's creepy.
Have what you need
It is.
in your
It is.
hand. Make sure you got your key fob or your key or whatever you need to get into your car.
Ready
Have
to
it
go,
ready.
one step
Have
ahead.
it ready so you're not standing in
then
front of
you
your
can
car
use it as a
digging through your
weapon
purse.
Too.
Well, you can. I mean,
Not a fob because it's a dud.
no, but if you got a set of keys in your hand, I can tell you right now, a key to the neck, it might not kill me, but it's gonna hurt.
It's gonna wake you up.
Or a key to the eye, or anything. And I just said the whole poke in the eye needed to grow in thing was a joke, but
Right.
I mean, but if you're fighting for your life and you don't have, actual martial arts training, you got to use anything you can, and your keys, are a perfect example of using something for a weapon. I mean, I carry something on my key ring called a kubaton.
Okay.
It's basically just a little.
Kubaton.
It's basically just a little piece of metal about this
You
long.
have it with you?
And it's on my keys over here.
It's
Okay.
a kubaton.
Kubaton. Okay.
No,
It's-
kubaton.
It's literally about
Kubaton.
it's literally about the width of my finger, and about 6 or 7 inches long.
Does that mean small baton?
I couldn't tell you what it means. You put me on the spot right now.
I had to look that up.
But it is an actual martial arts weapon, and it's for something. I mean, literally, if I grab my keys, and mine's made out of aluminum, they're usually made out of wood. But if I grab my keys and
does it
hit
expand?
somebody, No, but I'm gonna tell you
that's
right
a good
now,
idea.
a solid cylinder of aluminum right on the forehead right there is gonna split somebody open.
Yes.
You know, or right across the bridge of the nose, or even if I just held it in my hand when I threw a punch, which like you put a roll of quarters or nickels or something in your hand, it's the same thing. You put that little Kubotan in there, and it gives you, it makes your fist more solid.
Right.
You know, but
Interesting.
that's, you know, your keys can do the same thing. I mean, you still have that pointed key to the rib cage on somebody really, really hurts.
Yeah,
right,
but
you
a
know?
key ain't as fun as a Kubotan.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's that situational awareness where being confident. When you have your keys in your hand, you got your purse on, you got your bags in your hand, you walk directly to your car, and you, like football players say, keeping your head on a swivel. You know, you're looking around, making sure. I'm not saying you got to look behind you like you paranoid or anything, but maybe you do. If you feel like somebody's following you, look behind you. You know, if you notice somebody when you look behind you and they kind of just dart off to the side, or okay, maybe you're getting followed.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to walk a little bit quicker. You know, but being just looking around, that attacker is going to be less likely to sneak up on you. Obviously, if you know what's around you.
Right.
Yes.
And having that ability to second you fiddling around with your keys and your purse and everything, trying to get into your car, is the opportunity. That's where the attack is going to happen.
Yeah, you're distracted.
You know,
Yes.
as you walk. If you have a key fob like most people have now, you make sure your trunk is open when you get there. You put your bags in it. You already have it's all unlocked. You go straight into your car. You start it up and you drive off.
Unless they try to get in your car.
Well, and that's the whole being prepared for. It's when you're fiddling around trying to find your keys or in your purse or something that they're gonna get close enough to you to attack you and put you in your car.
I saw something going on. I don't know if it's true or not, but I seen it going around that this woman, someone had stolen or attempted to steal her car, and it had her kids in it.
Oh
Wow.
yeah, it's
so
happened a few times.
Wow.
She shot him point blank and killed him, I think.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's happened a few times.
Yep.
Wow. She was carrying on her. Mr.
I would,
Shelton?
yeah. I mean, she got in the car and she popped that man.
Yeah, I
Excellent.
mean,
And
you can go
not
on YouTube.
my babies.
You can go on YouTube now and see with the controversies. There's always a controversy about handguns and different guns and everything, Second Amendment stuff like that, where women who are getting attacked, somebody tries to attack them and they got a child standing there. They're with their child, and someone tries to abduct them or their child, and you see a woman pulls a pistol out of a person and takes the guy out.
That's
I'm
over.
sorry,
You
it's
know,
not my kid.
As much as
Not my kid.
as much as I
mean-
love martial arts and everything else, in the end, I can't dodge a bullet.
Nope.
You know, and if you're not confident in doing a martial art or something like that, true self-defense,
Pack.
learn how to
Yes.
carry a weapon. Now, it's that being said, but you have to learn how to use the weapon. I know
That's
so many
fun, too.
women
Yes.
that say, "Oh, I got my pistol in my car. Or I got my pistol in my purse." How often do you shoot that?
Right.
Yeah, you need to do that
Once every
regularly.
6
Very
months. I mean, you should be going at least once every 2 weeks, and putting 200 rounds through that thing. You got to be confident.
Yes.
Again, it's
Until
being
you get
comfortable.
used to it.
It's being
Yeah.
comfortable in that uncomfortable situation. You have the muscle memorization, the ability to know that you can pull that gun
But-
out and do what you have to do to protect yourself without hurting someone else. You know, without just spraying bullets everywhere.
Right.
I don't know, when it comes to your kid, is pretty legit.
You know, I mean,
You find strengths you never knew you had when something
and,
happens to your
I
kid.
agree. I agree. And,
Yeah,
and,
fight or
and
flight.
now,
Right.
you know,
Yes.
I have a little girl, and knowing
Flight or
No,
not flight, file. They fall. Fall. Not flight. You don't want them running. They're going to fall.
That's a good one. That's a
But
good one. Yes.
like having a little girl now and knowing that I am going to teach her, not only am I going to teach her martial arts, I'm going to teach her everything I know. So that I know when she's by herself, she can protect herself. But I'm going to teach her how to shoot too.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I'm definitely going to teach her how to, not because I own guns and everything. I want her to respect the power that
yeah.
a gun has.
Well, so
But
many kids get hurt by them.
I also want her to understand that she can protect herself with it.
Right.
You know, whether she's
Yes.
at home by herself or out with, you know, as an adult where she can carry and everything like that.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do.
Yes, definitely.
Just too many kids are shooting each other nowadays too. You know, you hear about that all the time.
Well, and that's because kids don't fight anymore.
That and they don't understand the power of a weapon.
Yeah, they're not taught that. But I remember, I mean, when we were growing up, I'm 38 years old, so I'm gonna give my age out. So when I was growing up in the 80s, you know, you had a disagreement with somebody, you got into a fight.
Fist fight.
Exactly.
You got into a fist fight.
Learn to swing.
And when it was over with, you went about your business. Whoever won the fight was right.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And
now you look at somebody wrong, they expel you, and you can't even do what you got to do.
Me and the kids in the neighborhood, you know, might get into a fight about something. 9 times out of 10, it never came to swings, but we might push each other around and stuff like that.
Pull your hair out like girls do.
The next day, we were all playing football in the front yard together. Right. You know, because it was over with.
Well, that's how it's supposed to be. Kids hold grudges now there.
Yeah,
but
they're ferocious.
The girls fought the most fierce in my school that I went to.
They still do. They still do nowadays.
I don't promote fighting to my girls at all, but I tell them this much. First of all, wear your hair in a bun. Ain't no hair pulling in this family.
Right.
And if you're gonna hit, make sure they hit the ground and run.
There you go.
Because you don't want to get caught.
With girls defending themselves.
But that does not mean y'all need to do it.
with girls defending themselves, a big obstacle, and I mentioned this to you earlier, a big obstacle with trying to get women especially into the gym to train martial arts is the fact that they don't want to have to train with big sweaty men. You know?
Oh, I see that.
Well, who is going to attack you?
But then half of them don't sweat, though.
That's
gross.
Okay.
Have you ever seen
Here's another scenario. Here's another scenario. You're walking out of the mall. You're doing your Christmas shopping, something like that. What are the chances better that a big 6 foot, 220-pound guy is going to attack you, or a 5 foot 230-pound woman?
I don't know, but I would run if I saw somebody that big coming at me.
But I can guarantee you the odds of getting attacked by that man are a lot greater than getting attacked by somebody the same size as you.
Yeah,
so
but
you
won't
need
be
to train.
Sweating. That's true.
But you need to train with people.
Women too, though, man. Them big women can scare you.
For instance, me getting ready for an MMA fight. Okay, I'm 6'4". I'm 255 pounds. I'm fighting heavyweight. I'm fighting another guy that's the same size, strength, and everything, skill level as I am. Would it do me any good to train with a bunch of 10-year-olds that can't defend themselves?
Right.
No.
No, but it would be fun.
No, you have to prepare yourself for what you have to train for what you're preparing yourself for.
You need to get women in there too, though. You're not feisty.
You're not gonna train for the Indianapolis 500 by being a valet.
Right.
By parking.
I don't know. I've seen some valet drive pretty in a
it's
NASCAR like.
You know? With girls, with little girls, it's not that big a deal because most of my girls in my gym train with boys and they don't have a problem. And they fight boys in tournaments too.
Yeah.
A lot of girls, because like I said, 90 to 95% of the people that do martial arts are typically men, especially jiu-jitsu. So a lot to tournaments, the girls don't have anybody in their divisions to fight.
You're gonna have to change
so they
it
gotta
around.
Fight boys.
Let the boys, let them fight together, but let them see how. Because you're saying like guys are what we need to watch for. Some of them women, like you're saying, they're pretty bad.
Well, on average, he's saying.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying it'd be interesting.
Think about this though. If you train against nothing but men, and you can defend yourself against a man, don't you think?
I'm talking about the guys. The guys need to train against we whip butt.
Oh yeah, okay, I got you. Well, again, we can defend ourselves against grown men. I'm pretty sure we can defend ourselves against women.
Hey now.
Well,
not that I'm not saying anything bad about women.
But yeah, like you're saying though, the chances are a man is going to attack you and rape you or whatever, and do it out wherever else. So you got to be ready for that for sure.
You just got to watch everybody.
Yes.
Everybody. Yes. Even kids are bad now. They kick you in the shin and run. Boy, they bad.
I wonder where they get that from.
Oh, not me.
Apparently.
It's some video games. Xbox.
Don't start that. No, don't start that.
I can't say nothing. I'm a very big Halo fan.
We can get into a lot of different conversations about what causes kids to be bad.
Right. So let's go back to another scenario. So yeah, I saw some people on the internet, a lot of YouTube channels that I watch. They're always saying like if you get in a bind or whatever, run to something, away from something to something. So in other words, you have a plan of action where you're going. So even if you're in a parking garage going to your car, know that I'm leaving the elevator, but I'm going to my car. That's
Directly
my
there.
destination.
Yes.
What if you're running from it though? Where are you going to go in a parking garage down the level?
But
See,
always,
that's why I don't like parking garages.
right. But
There's
always
nowhere to
have
go
There is nowhere to go
unless you
typically.
jump.
It is the
Right.
parking garage is a trap a lot of times.
And
Yes,
it's
it
always
is.
dark, it's dingy, it's scary.
Yes, right.
Ugh.
It
And
is.
that
It is.
comes in proper planning comes with that. I mean, I can park anywhere in a garage. I'm not worried about it. You think ahead. You know, if you got to drive around a little bit more, make sure you park in a place where that's well lit
Yeah.
and everything that's got a higher traffic. You know, that's got more traffic. Park close to the elevator or what.
I try to do that
something
too.
like that.
Right.
Instead of way back in the dark corner of the parking garage because you know it's the first available spot. You know,
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
it's just
I don't
it's
like that.
preparation for
Exactly.
anything.
What got me interested in this whole thing, and Datha, if you want to hold the book up right here, and I'll tell you when to hold it up, but you can go ahead and get it ready to hold up.
Potato there.
Right. So I want to have Mr. Tony Clayton on our show in one of our upcoming episodes because I always respected him as a prosecutor, as an attorney.
Oh, absolutely.
And he did a great job prosecuting Derek Todd Lee. We all know about Derek Todd Lee. Anybody that's lived in the Baton Rouge or Port Allen, St. Francisville area for a time knows about Derek Todd Lee. A lot of the women that he raped, murdered, killed, and even hurt real bad, injured real bad, a lot of them, no matter what they did, they probably would have get killed anyway. A lot of them could have reduced the chances of them being injured or killed by what they did. So what I want to do is, Datha, you can go ahead and hold the book up right now, and I think that's your camera over there.
Yeah.
So it's called Bloodbath.
Bloodbath.
Yes. And so Tony Clayton wrote it with a couple of other writers, and what it does is it details the whole process of how they brought Derek Todd Lee to his conviction. And I know there's a lot of other questions and everything that we have about that.
And it's got pictures in it. That's a good
Yes,
thing
it
for
does.
people like me.
Right.
It's got pictures.
And the thing is he killed people anywhere from 21, 22-year-old girls all the way up to Miss Fowler, who was abducted in a subway in Port Allen, never found her body.
Yep.
She was probably in her 60s or whatever. So, and once again, all the age limit's 20 to 60. There are things you can do no matter how old you are. And I'll put the camera back on me for right now. You good?
Oh, I was doing the Vanna White thing.
So what I found out in the book, and they detailed about what situations a lot of these women were in whenever they were killed, raped, murdered, and injured. And so one of the things was one of the ladies didn't lock the door of her house.
Rookie mistake.
Yes, she was always in a hurry, or she always had her bags, her hands full of bags, and she would always go back and forth. She would leave her keys in her door, and sometimes she'd just forget about them. Well, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be a problem. But on this one occasion, it cost her her life. So basically, Roman, tell us some information, some tips about in your place of residence, where you consider the safest place on earth, your home. What are some things that you can do to keep yourself safe?
Well, number one, I mean, I wish we could go back to a time where you could leave your doors unlocked and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Nowadays, and I'm guilty of it too. I get home from the gym. It's a pretty spring day. I leave my doors open with my screen doors shut and everything, and I go take a shower. Anybody can walk into my house, take whatever they want. They can, and I put myself in that situation a lot of times. It always comes back to awareness. You have to have a plan all the time. If you're a woman who lives alone, if you're married and your husband's at work during the day, things like that, you'll notice people. If you've lived in your neighborhood 5, 10, 15 years, you know everybody in your neighborhood. You see the same cars going up and down the street all the time. You see the same people who walk around the block all the time. If all of a sudden randomly you see some person that typically doesn't belong there, at random times, and they look suspicious, they probably, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Yes.
So if out of nowhere all of a sudden you start seeing something, a different person in your neighborhood, be wareful of that. Be wary of that.
Yes.
Locking your doors nowadays. I mean, I still got to tell my mom to this day. I live a block and a half away from my mother. We grew up in a neighborhood where you kept your doors unlocked because kids were coming in and out the house all day long.
Yes.
And she still does it. She'll leave the house
Yeah, a lot of people do
and
it.
unlocked.
A lot of people
She'll
do.
Not
leave
me.
and go to my grandparents' house and leave it unlocked. you know, because she's going to be back in 15 or 20 minutes. But in 15 to 20 minutes, anybody can walk into your home.
Yes.
I set alarms.
And it's
and a big dog.
Yes,
it's a complacency thing. You know, we get complacent because we trust our neighbors and people we've been living around for so long.
No one anymore.
For the most part, is true.
It's sad.
With a lot of things.
Yeah, that's true.
But when it comes to your home, you know, lock your doors always. Obviously, that's rule one: is lock your doors. Deadbolts.
Yeah, I love my deadbolts.
If you have a glass door, my mom, I had to finally tell her, she's got the side door of her house has glass windows on it, you know, and only thing she ever locked was the door handle, which has got just a little thing on the end. If you crack the window, you reach in, you unlock it, you walk through.
That easy.
Even the first time she finally decided to put a deadbolt on the thing, the deadbolt had the switch on the inside. Well, they can still crack the window, switch it, and then walk in. You have to have a deadbolt with a key on the inside.
She don't have an alarm system?
No.
I just acquired. I mean, when I moved into my house, got one. So it's a little over a year.
Nowadays, newer homes, almost all of them have
some type of alarm.
Some type of alarm system. My mom's house is 120 years old.
Well, you can get them fairly cheap.
And for them to come in and put an alarm system in and stuff like that. But
expensive.
now you got things that go through your iPhone.
Yeah, they're wireless.
And stuff. They're wireless stuff.
Yeah,
the Vivint or
whatever. You can get so much stuff now.
And
It's so easy.
And I've been thinking about
cameras.
doing that. I've been thinking about using that, especially doorbell cameras.
I love those.
I've really been thinking about
I gotta get me a ring.
Yep, you can look it on your phone too.
I've got to get a ring.
I've been thinking about doing a doorbell camera.
I just want to see what people do and freak them out. Be like, why are you standing at my door? You better be there for a reason.
Like,
you can talk to them.
I get called weird and stuff all the time because I believe in chivalry and I don't think chivalry's dead and all that. But you know, when if I'm in a relationship with someone and I stay at their house or they stay at mine, I always sleep between them and the door. You know, because it's just the way I was brought up. It's that the man should always be.
What happens if they have a door on each side?
Only Datha would
have. Even my daughter's bed. My daughter's bed. When I first put up my daughter's bed in my room, I made sure that it was away from the windows. You know, because I got a lot of windows, and I don't want windows.
Cheyenne?
Anywhere near the windows.
Yes.
Because somebody breaks in, they're coming through a window because they're not getting through my deadbolt. They're coming through the window.
Right.
They're gonna find a way in, and things like that.
Yes.
But it's being aware that, like you said, you can't trust anybody nowadays. You cannot. You only get one life, so nowadays, why take a chance with it?
Exactly.
It's not the 50s anymore. You can't.
Yes.
People are just
not Mayberry anymore.
People are just bad now, and it's scary.
It is scary.
It is very, very scary. And I'm a martial artist with tons of. I mean, I've got I've got 30 plus, almost 40 amateur and professional mixed martial arts fights, kickboxing matches, boxing matches, all of this stuff, and even I carry a gun. Because
you have to.
You know, I can't dodge a bullet.
But you don't know what that person next to you is thinking either. They could go like that, snap, and that's it. Go total postal on you.
Yeah,
that's right. You're
exactly right. If it's hand to hand, I'm okay. But I don't know. I never know.
Right. Another one of the things that got some of these ladies in trouble was that Derek Todd Lee was such a charismatic and a nice guy. He could put on his front. He would knock on people's doors so friendly, and they would let him in the house.
I'm sorry, but I've seen that guy, and I don't think I would let him in mine.
That was amazing because you told me,
He is
Dave,
scary.
You told me that you were in the same restaurant or something with him?
Yeah, we was actually, I worked in that area on 61 with my dad one summer, right when all this was happening. And we had no clue this guy was eating lunch at the same place we were eating lunch at. And we found out, and we're like, what? We were scared to death because they had us looking for one particular character, and it comes out that it's him. We never knew.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there talking about what we would do if something like that happened, and we'd seen the whole time this cat was sitting right beside us eating, and we're like,
that's amazing.
You never know, man.
That's right.
You don't know what that person beside you is thinking. You really don't, and it's scary.
In today's society, with everything, another thing that we haven't brought up, social media. Stop posting everywhere you go on social media.
I'm telling you, you're just asking to get robbed. I know.
You want somebody to break in your house? Post everything you got for Christmas.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
post everything you got for Christmas on your social media and put all your boxes out by the street.
Right.
I know, right?
Put the
I
put the
said the
60
same thing.
Put the empty box for the 65-inch big screen
Right.
on the street.
I said
you
we
know?
have got to take the labels off of
Um,
this. I do not want people to
Yep.
know what it is, because if they know, they think I got money. And this sister
Well-
knows how to spend. I don't have money.
Right.
I save. But I'm just saying, if they see that, the first thing they're gonna say is that chick got money.
Well, I mean, look,
True. True,
there's a young lady that I follow on social media, and her ex-boyfriend or ex-husband or something like that has been putting cameras up outside of her home,
Ouch,
like
sister.
all the
Wow.
time.
Can you say
like
stalker
like
much?
she has
Wow.
literally pulled down something like 15 or 20
Is she
cameras.
keeping 'em?
Jeez,
Oh, yeah.
Good, she can
wow.
sell
they're
those
going
on eBay.
they're going to court
Right.
and
Oh.
everything, but I mean, it's like it's one of those
Wow.
things. Like people, you talking about somebody stalking you, you letting them stalk you if you post everywhere you go.
Well, how does she
Yes.
keep finding
know?
these so-called cameras? I mean,
Right.
is
A lot
it
of
like
'em-
point blank?
A lot of them are
Wow.
fake and just sitting out in the middle of nowhere because
I'd have to knock
because
on that cat's door.
it's obvious he wants her to focus on those when the real ones are way up
Ah.
in the tree.
I'd have to say
know?
something to him. I'd be like,
But
you know what?
posting and it's with everything. I jump on parents all the time about, I'm dropping little Susie off for her first
Don't
day.
say your kids'
at
names too much
school.
either.
Right.
Dropping off, such and such first day of school at this school.
Well,
and
that's
all this.
like-
I'm like, okay, congratulations, your child just got sold on the internet.
Well, that's like
Exactly.
people putting their kids' names on the back of their cars and
Yes.
honor student from such and such school. Well, first of all, if you go
Yes.
to a Walmart or something, well, they're not gonna know it's that one kid, but they're gonna say that kid's name, and the kid's gonna look back and bam,
Yep,
you're already
and they know
screwed.
it.
Boom.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
Yep.
they walk up. You see with baseball and softball teams all the time, and it's got the kid's number, the name, and everything else. You drop them off at baseball practice. Somebody walks up behind them and tells the kid, and they know who they talking to, and hey, I'm a friend of your mom's. Yeah, she wanted me
Yes.
to pick you up early from practice and
Right.
things like that. My sister was almost abducted as a child.
Really? Wow.
Luckily my dad was just happened to be standing in the front of the house. My sister was playing in the front yard. She couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 years old, and like we grew up in a very quiet neighborhood. Everybody knows everybody. There's children playing everywhere, and some guy pulls up in a car and tries to get my sister to come to the car.
Wow.
And luckily my dad is standing in the living room looking out the window, and he bolts right out the door and chases him off. And this was 30-some years ago.
I had somebody do that to me. I was actually at a
on.
hotel room with my mom and dad.
Wow, even more scary in a hotel
well,
room
yeah,
in a
and
different city.
I remember what happened. The guy talked me into going into the stairwell with him, and he was like at the top floors to the
how old were
parking
you?
garage, probably about 7 or 8.
Mm.
And I remember that because I never left without
Wow.
my mom and dad ever. And some guy just talked me into it. And thank
What
God
did, what
they
did
found
he tell?
me.
What did he tell you to try to kind of coax you to come with
Come
him?
on
What
up.
did he say?
Just keep coming on up. Come see.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Wow.
nowadays
and stuff like that. Kids are so impressionable.
Luckily nowadays, I have noticed that children aren't as impressionable as they used to. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
it's fun. Like I mean, you talk about my daughter's 10 months old. She knows when she's getting ready to take a picture on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
When I grab the phone and I turn it to her and she can see her face, she knows the phone is. She knows what it is.
Right.
She knows we're getting ready to do. I mean, you got 5-year-olds that know more about iPhones than I do.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
that's true.
Well, that one, the Breeze was on it whenever he was a year old.
And that's what I'm saying. And so kids nowadays are actually, I think, less likely to be talked into a situation like that.
No more
granted,
candy.
You're not going to convince some
Not
kid
with
to.
candy.
You're not going to see
The key to success on that is always buy your children candy.
Well, you're not going to.
They have it all the
Right,
time. Why
exactly.
would they want it from
Exactly.
somebody they don't know?
The cliched old man sitting in a van in front of the playground with milk duds melting in his lap is kind of come and gone.
Yeah.
But nowadays you got to
Now
worry
they
about
gotta put the stuff on their. What do they call that stuff that they put on their mouth so it makes them pass out?
chloroform.
Chloroform.
Right,
I've been watching Forensic Files.
You've
Leave me
been watching
alone.
way too many movies.
And no, it's Forensic Files. They really had this happen. This poor
But
little girl.
Nowadays it's when it comes to child abduction and stuff like that, it's all internet.
Yeah, that's true. They
convince
talk
them to
them
meet
into
them.
it.
So they talking to them on Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook, and now you got other
Singles
little
websites.
websites and everything else where, and every child. I mean, I've got kids at my gym that that are on social media and 8 years old.
Oh yeah, no,
I thought
know.
you were supposed to be 18 to be on
Oh,
Facebook
but you don't
and stuff
have
like
to put
that.
your real age in.
Well, I know that. I know it. And that's the worst part is it's so easy for people to get in contact with these kids nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've got 7 and 8 year olds at my gym that have social media accounts.
Oh, I know. I know.
And stuff. It's like, I'm sorry, but I gotta deny that. You know, and as much as I want to, I use my social media as much as I can just to promote my gym. And if it wasn't for the fact that I needed a personal social media site to have a company for my gym and gym website, I probably wouldn't even be on
I'm
Facebook
not on
and
it.
stuff like that.
I got
and
off Facebook.
As much as and don't get me wrong,
I am so happy I got off too.
as much time as I spend on social media, sometimes I regret I ever got on it because I'm just like everybody else. I'm addicted to it too.
It's a total soul cleanse when you get off. I'm telling you.
Oh, I know it.
You have to.
But it's an addiction, and I think they need to look at social media use just like they do any other drug use.
I agree.
Because likes, for instance, on Instagram, Facebook, every time you look at your phone and you notice somebody liked your picture, your body releases endorphins.
Yes, it does. That's right.
You know,
exactly.
So you get an endorphin rush. Every time you see those hearts pop up on your Instagram or whatever else, you get that rush of endorphins, which you can get addicted to endorphins. That's
attention.
The whole point. Yeah.
Everybody likes, and I like attention. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Again,
I used to never get it, so I kind of enjoy it. But
the problem is,
but not too much attention.
Looking at it from a self-defense standpoint, you know, you're gonna get a lot of unwanted attention.
Oh yeah.
You know, so
negative people are everywhere.
You're posting pictures of yourself at this place and that place. A person who typically, you talking about Derek Todd Lee, a serial killer or anyone who really wants to do you harm is gonna study you.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You
That's
know,
what he did.
They're gonna find out what your routine is.
Yes.
You know, if you're
posting
pictures everywhere all the time, you're giving your location on Facebook.
You're doing the work for him.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
All they gotta do, it's like setting a trap for
Right.
yourself. You're
Right.
setting a trap for yourself. All they gotta do is sit there and wait for you.
Yes.
Because they know where you're gonna be all the time. They know that, you're not home. I'm gonna go to your house and wait for you. You know, I'm gonna break into your house and wait for you. You're telling that person when and where you are and when they can do something bad to you.
See, I enjoy being private. I don't think people need to know anything about me.
Well, more people need to be like you for sure, though.
Well, I mean, I lived in Livonia for 2 years. They never even knew I was even over there, and I was on Main Street. That's how good I am, and that is the gossip hub of Point Capee, Livonia.
Yes, it is.
I'm good like that.
Well, I don't post pictures of my daughter on social media for the most part.
You have to be careful with that too.
You know,
especially young kids.
I mean, I have a Snapchat and I post pictures of her because they disappear in 24 hours, and I know it shows me exactly who has looked at it.
I don't understand
whether or not
Snapchat.
they liked it or not.
I call it chap snat.
You know, whether they like the picture or not. If somebody opens that picture, I know who it is. If somebody takes a screenshot of that picture, it shows me who took a screenshot of that picture. Whereas Facebook and Instagram don't have that.
No.
You know,
right.
If some random person, and for instance, there's that scenario, you know, some guy sends you a friend request on Facebook. He's cute, you know, he looks like a good guy and everything. You don't think anything of it. You just accept the friend request.
That's the dating websites are total phonies anyway.
But you just accept the friend request. And you don't know anything about this guy. For all you know, he saw pictures of your kids and everything else, and he's trying to
finagle his way in.
Learn you and your routine so that he's got buyers in some Middle Eastern country or in South America,
right?
You know, that want a brunette 14-year-old.
Absolutely, and that goes on right here in Baton Rouge.
And
all the time.
You've got mutual friends with this guy. You don't think anything of it and all that kind of stuff. I've got 2,500 friends and followers on Facebook, and I can tell you right now, I don't know all of them, but I know I have at least met face to face the majority of them. You know. A lot of them are fight fans. They've seen me fight, whether it was out of state or on TV and everything else. And for the most part, I've met most of them.
Right.
I've got some that just follow me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't accept friend requests from people I've never actually met face to face.
Right.
I have a lot of people that just follow me on Facebook that because I won't accept their friend request, so they just follow me. But you got to be careful with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Yes.
Social media and it's just people are so lackadaisical with their information nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You want to defend yourself. The first step,
Mm-hmm.
the first step in self-defense is not helping the person that's going to attack you. You know, I'm not going to give the enemy the ammunition.
So just use Facebook and Instagram for videos of cats and cookie making and cake making. Don't accept people you don't know.
Yes.
Leave Facebook
Seriously.
alone
Wow.
though.
Seriously.
I'm off of Facebook.
Common sense.
You know?
I totally like Instagram better because of the videos of the cats and dogs. I can sit there and watch them for hours.
All right,
Less drama, too.
Makes me happy.
This brings me to speaking of
Tim
videos.
too, but
Speaking of videos, you see a lot on, especially Facebook nowadays, where people share these self-defense videos of people.
I've seen that.
And look, like I said, I'm not gonna badmouth anyone's style of martial arts. I love my jiu-jitsu and my Muay Thai, especially jiu-jitsu when it comes to self-defense, because I believe jiu-jitsu is the best form of martial arts for self-defense. But you get these people, these fitness experts, these CrossFitters and stuff like that all of a sudden come out of nowhere with this 90-second video of how to defend yourself and everything else. And I'm like, you're going to get someone killed. You're going to get someone killed.
So YouTube and the jitterbug and learning how to do it is not a good idea?
No, YouTubing anything and using it and trying to do it is not a good idea.
I don't know. I learned how to put my sink faucet in on YouTube, and it wasn't a complete disaster.
Pinterest, for example.
I don't know nothing about that either.
Well, go look at that and see the before and afters and what it's supposed to
I've
look
seen
like.
a
And
cake.
the point is you have people who are not experts.
Right. Trying to be
in
experts.
self-defense, trying to sell you a product, you know, and this is a product that you're putting your life on the line. If you really think that you can move out of the way of a knife or a gun fast enough and grab it and turn it and point it at the person.
Well, it's not like it's Matrix or anything.
It's a ridiculous concept. My biggest, and I got a couple of buddies of mine that are probably going to see this and everything, and they're going to give me a call. I think Krav Maga, as much as it can be used for self-defense, I think Krav Maga is a trend and just the new thing that everybody's trying and stuff like that. I don't think it has any. I don't think it holds any weight as far as the real martial arts world. That people are like, ask the Israeli special forces about that and everything else. Yeah, that's fine. That's Israeli special forces. They use it in combat and wartime and everything else. How do you practice something full speed like Krav Maga that teaches you how to eye gouge, knee in the groin, and all that kind of stuff, and basically fight dirty?
Right.
It's teaching you how to fight dirty because it is for self-defense.
Right.
No one in Krav Maga ever said it was a martial art. You know, it is purely for self-defense when your life is on the line.
Right.
But how do you practice something full speed like that? In jiu-jitsu, we practice full speed. You're trying to choke each other out at the end of every practice, every class. At the end of every class, we spar.
Mm-hmm.
And we spar full speed. So you're training against people who know what they're doing.
Right.
Full speed.
How do you determine who the winner is?
Whoever's laying on the ground dead.
Well, in jiu-jitsu, when it comes to practicing, we have a saying in the gym: you either win or you learn. Especially with the kids, I preach to them: you win or you learn. You can't think about it as losing when you're training or even in a tournament because your life is not on the line.
Right.
But in like sport jiu-jitsu, tournaments and stuff like that, you can win on points and you can win by submission, where you tap the other person taps out and the fight's over with. In the gym, we don't worry about points in the gym because nobody's keeping score of points or anything, positions and stuff like that. But if you get submitted while you're rolling with somebody, you catch your breath, you slap bump, you keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
You just
Right.
do it over and over again.
Right.
And that's the whole thing we were talking about earlier about practicing something, getting comfortable in that uncomfortable situation, and knowing that when it hits the fan, you're okay. You know,
Yes.
we've got silly little sayings in jiu-jitsu, like it's a cuddle with a struggle, and it's like folding clothes with people still in them, and things like that. And it's true. We joke about that and everything, but in the end, it's being comfortable in that bad situation, and it transcends just jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
When it comes to my kids' classes and things like that, jiu-jitsu is not just about learning how to defend yourself. It's not about learning how to fight and things like that. The things you learn in jiu-jitsu as a child are going to transition all the way into adulthood.
Yes.
And even in my adult classes, when talking to people to try and convince them to come train, they're like, "Oh, I got so much stuff going on, this, that, and that." I'm like, if you can take the time and make it a priority to come in and train jiu-jitsu twice a week for an hour, hour and a half, you're going to realize that when you're stressed out at work,
You're kicking people?
It's not nearly. It's just not nearly.
Well,
as
no, because you can
stressful.
kick butt.
Well, yeah, but you can kick butt. You can kick butt in a figurative way that, you know, your boss is on your back, your kids are being a pain in the butt and everything else, and none of it is nearly as stressful as that 250-pound man that you got to fight at the gym later this evening that's going to have you stacked up on your head. You know, because so it transcends the gym. You know, especially with the kids. If you can get through a bad spot in jiu-jitsu, you're in a terrible situation. You got somebody on top of you. You're almost folded in half. You're stacked up and everything, and you can sit there and be like, okay, I can think my way out of this.
I know how Breeze would get out of it.
Problem solving.
How would he get out of it?
Oh, I ain't saying nothing. It would smell really bad.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. It's cheating.
But it would. It's that thing. It's that you know, if you can get through that situation, you know, where you're in just a horrible, and you can think your way out of it.
Right.
You can think your way out of anything. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, kids these days especially don't have problem-solving skills.
No, they don't.
You know, they just don't, because everything's in the palm of their hand, and they don't have to figure it out on their own.
That's
True.
right.
You
Well,
know?
when the internet
They've
crashes.
got more information in the
Right.
palm of their hand that they don't use.
And Alexa,
You know, and
who
Right.
never listens.
Right.
To me, anyway.
Sometimes laughs real creepily.
No. She's been going off on her own lately,
That's
Dave.
what I'm talking about.
What the heck is up with that?
Delete that thing. Get it out
Oh
your
no,
house.
I love it. The CIA can't
It's
catch
spying
me
on you.
because they can't understand what I'm saying. It's good. I like
Well, if
Alexa.
they can't,
But
how
I
can
gotta
Alexa,
yell at her.
How can Alexa understand what you're saying if the CIA can't understand?
Yeah, that's what
you're
I'm saying. I have to say it really loud,
that's
like
one good
get
thing
her
about
attention.
living in South Louisiana.
Okay.
The people at Amazon and Google and stuff listening to you on your Alexa can't understand
What?
what we're
She
saying.
right.
said.
That's true, right.
But you got to get loud with that thing.
Right.
Alexa, play Calm My Dog. Alexa, calm my dog. It is that
Right.
bad.
Wow,
It
really?
is
Or
that
maybe the microphone.
bad.
Maybe it's too far away from your
No,
voice.
she's ornery.
Wow.
But
Drives me
Get
nuts.
like I
Attention,
said,
Alexa.
the whole jiu-jitsu transit, or any martial arts fan for that matter, transcending just what you're doing
Right.
is a huge thing with kids, with adults. We call it mat therapy at the gym with the adults. It's like going to see your therapist.
Right.
You know, you had a hard day at work. You come to
I
the
can see
gym,
that.
and it's almost it's a little masochist. I know, because you're getting
Right.
beat up every day, and you're feeling, you're hurting, and you're getting little injuries, and you wake up sore every day, but you still show up because it's
That's like working out, though.
yes,
You're gonna
it's the
hurt.
same thing. It's the same thing. But
Mhm.
all that stuff that goes on in your life every single day, stress at work, stress
Traffic.
at school, all of that, kids and everything else,
Right.
it goes out of the window when you're on the mats.
That's
You're not
awesome. I
thinking about
agree.
any. It's like an alcoholic going, bottom up on liquor.
But more
Right.
healthier though.
Yeah.
But the problem is,
Yeah.
the problem is still there when you get off the mats, but you're
Feels
not
a
gonna
lot
you're not gonna
better.
run yourself into a tree.
No.
You know,
Mhm.
you're
Right.
you're learning how to constructively get through the anger or the stress and everything else, and
Yes, right.
and learning a skill and getting in shape and everything at the same time.
Gonna put the stress
Yes.
balls in that little squeaky head dude out of business.
Right.
I would
It's
take
true.
that little dude
Right.
sometimes
It's
and just
true. Like I mean, I got the ladies, few of the ladies that come to my gym all the time. They can't wait to come and do jiu-jitsu because it's like, man, I need mat therapy. I've got people that call me up even when we don't have class. Hey, coach, you want to come roll with me a little bit? I need to get some aggression out.
Wow,
and he knows he's gonna get beat up. He knows he's gonna get beat up. Right. But he just wants to be on the mat and doing something because he needs to get some stress out and all that kind of. And that's what it is.
I gotta let me tell you this real quick. We're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. We're hitting right about an hour, so we're doing really, really good. A preconceived notion that I had going into, especially the MMA fights, a lot of times, way back in the early days when I first heard about MMA and I started watching some of the fights and they were beating the crap out of each other. Sometimes they're bleeding. I always thought that a lot of the fighters had low self-esteem, and that's why they got into this sport or whatever. Is that true or not? Or
well, I from my perspective, all right, being a former football player, college football, and all this kind of stuff, I was looking for something to compete in. It was not MMA. I never fought growing up. Like I said, I got bullied and everything, but I can count on one hand how many actual fights I ever got into.
Right.
And I can tell you right now, in the 12 years since I've been doing MMA, I have yet to get into a fight outside of the cage. I've had opportunities, but again, I have the responsibility not to. But a lot of guys, don't get me wrong, a lot of guys start doing martial arts because they want to become fighters. I became a fighter to show what I had learned in martial arts.
Interesting.
So the way I think of it is completely different. I'm not going in there in the cage because I want to hurt someone.
Right.
I want to show off what I have done. I want to show off the hard work that I have put in. You know, I'm extremely faithful. You know, I have a strong faith in God and everything else. And one thing we say at our gym is we have it's God, family, jiu-jitsu at our gym. And one thing and my dad hates the fact that I fight. He's like, that is not God's plan for you and this, that, and that. And I'm like, Daddy, I am showing off all of the skills and everything that God has given me, that He gave me, all this athleticism and the ability to work hard and persevere and all this sacrifice and everything else. And not to mention, who you going to convert at church?
Well, that's true. They're all converted.
You got to go to where the people are.
Right.
You know?
That's right.
And every time I stepped into that cage, whether I won or I lost, I was thankful that God gave me the opportunity to go out there and show what I had learned. You know, I thanked Him for every time I got in that. I prayed to Him before and after every fight.
Whether you won or not.
Yes, I pray. I've prayed with my opponents before the fight.
Wow, that's amazing.
But we were about to go in there and try and beat each other up, and I asked them, "Hey, man, you mind if I pray with you before we go fight?" And some guys say yes, some guys say no. You know, but I didn't. Yeah, guys, there's some guys. I mean, I'm not a Conor McGregor fan. I never will be, because he's got that attitude that I just don't like. And there's a lot of fighters out there like that, especially with some of these smaller shows that, you know, they're the big fish in the little pond. You know, I fought Bellator, and let me tell you something. Those guys, that organization and stuff like that, the way they treat their fighters, and most of those fighters are so humble and everything else. Don't let the hotheads and the loudmouths at some of these smaller shows that, you know, the local shows and things like that. We have them here and everything else. That's what fighters are. They're not. For the most part, the majority of us are extremely humble, faithful, family-oriented, and everything else. And granted, we have to be alpha males. You're in a fight. You have to have that alpha male personality. You have to know that you have to believe you're the baddest dude on the planet.
Well, you are in it to win it after all.
You have to believe you're the baddest guy on the planet. And if you don't go in there with that attitude,
you're gonna lose.
You're beating yourself already.
Wasting your time.
So no, not all fighters are that type of guy. A lot of guys got into it because they just wanted to show off their martial art, and they're competitors. We're all competitors in the end. We're just trying to I'm not trying to hurt the guy in the cage.
It's not personal.
I'm just trying to beat him. I'm just trying to win a fight. It's a competition. You know, it's the same thing in my jiu-jitsu tournaments or anything else. I have never hated anybody I've ever fought. I have fought several friends of mine, people I knew and everything for years. And it was just the fact that we were fighters in Louisiana, and eventually we were going to collide, you know, because we were the best fighters at that time. And so it happens, and I'm still friends with several of them to this day.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I've become great friends with a lot of the guys that I have fought that I didn't know before, and we've become friends.
You ever think they're trying to get you close so they can learn your secrets?
Well, look, Bruce Lee said you never truly know someone until you fight them. So
interesting. That's true. And
I guess I'll never truly know anybody then.
Right. And the thing about fighting is it's symbolic of mankind's struggle through the ages, and survival of the fittest. Pretty much, it's like only the stronger people survive generation to generation.
Yes. And that's why I loved it so much. Like being a football player and everything else, it was all about contact. You trying to hit each other as hard as you can and everything else. And what's the purest form of athletic competition? It's fighting. I mean, if you believe in evolution, they've been fighting. You've been fighting for food and women. Yes. You know, since we came up from the ocean. That's true. You know, I mean,
we're from the ocean now.
So it's one of those things like Cro-Magnon man and Neanderthals were fighting for food and women.
Yes, that's right.
You know,
so it's to preserve the species, carry on the species.
It's the purest form of sport there is.
And see, us women, we were fighting to keep our men happy.
Right.
So we were fighting too.
That's an art in itself too.
I mean, minus the referee that's in that cage, or in a boxing ring, or
as long as you don't have any false calls or missed calls, right?
Sure, right. You got a referee
on a jiu-jitsu mat or anything else. Minus the referee, it is you against another person, and whoever's skill is the best that day. And don't get me wrong, in fighting, you may not even be the better fighter, but that day, that moment, you're better than they were.
Right.
True.
Yeah. And it's that ability to overcome, persevere, and that sacrifice, the 8 to 10 weeks, the 2 months that you have to train for a fight that might last 15 seconds or 15 minutes. You know, I've had a fight where I trained for 3 months and the fight lasted 8 seconds.
That's incredible. Wow.
You know, and so it's one of those things like I put in all that, and nobody sees that though. Nobody sees the 8 to 10 weeks of a training camp that you put in, that you weren't getting paid.
Yes.
You know, as a pro, we get paid to fight. Amateurs, you don't get paid anything as an amateur.
Right, paying your dues.
But they're like, man, how much you make for a fight? And I made some pretty good money on some of my fights, especially when I made it to, you know, I got that fight with Bellator and stuff like that. And they're like, man, that's pretty good money. No, because you didn't see the 8 to 10 weeks that I wasn't getting paid, kicking my own butt for 6 hours a day, 6 days a week training for this fight.
Right.
You saw the 2 or 3 or 2 rounds, 3 rounds that I fought in that cage to make that money. You know, they don't see all of the stuff that goes behind it.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where fighters are made, and friendship, bro. I'm gonna tell you now, the friendships I've made through martial arts, whether it's jiu-jitsu, MMA, things like that. Yes, it's a one-on-one fight, but it takes a team to prepare you for that fight.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, or saying God, family, jiu-jitsu. It's the truth, because I'm gonna tell you right now that jiu-jitsu and that family, everybody at my gym is, I consider, as close to me as any of my blood relatives or any family I have. Like I said, Bruce Lee said you don't truly know somebody until you fight them. Well, I fight these people every day. So I know these guys. I know they'll go to war, and I'll go to war for them. It's just how we are. That we're all alpha males, you know, and everything else, but we also know that we're all there together for a specific goal.
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, that is incredible, man. It was so great having you. We're going to shut her down in a second here. If anybody wants to get in contact with you or find out more about your, would you call it a gym?
Some people call it a dojo. Some people call it a gym.
Right.
I call it a gym. They can find us on Facebook at Empire MMA and Fitness.
Okay.
We do have a website, empiremma.net. The website's not completely up yet, but they can get my phone number and everything off of that. If they want the phone number, they can call me at 0564.
Excellent. You're located in Plaquemine.
In Plaquemine on Railroad Avenue. You can't miss us. As soon as you cross over the tracks, you almost run right into our building.
Excellent. Sounds great. All right. So before we wrap it up here, just give us some general guidelines to kind of be safe out there. Tell the people, a few little things, so pointers before we leave.
All right. Number one, situational awareness always. You got it. You want to truly protect yourself, and you got to be paranoid. You have to be paranoid, especially today.
Right. Look
around. Always know what your surroundings and everything else. Have a plan. Like we talked about, A to B. Don't walk through all of these cars over here when you can walk around in an open parking lot with some light where people can see you.
Right.
Because it's in between all of those cars and stuff where somebody's going to get you. Be confident.
Yes.
When if you're walking around somewhere or something like that, be confident. You're less likely to be attacked if the person knows that you might know they're there. I mean, be confident in your ability. Walk with your head up. Walk with your shoulders back, your chest out, and everything.
Yes.
And then, especially for women, get everything in your hands that you need to get into your car before you get there. It's that 5 or 10 seconds that you're in your purse looking around for something and everything else that they're going to attack you.
Yes.
And keep your hands off your phone when you stop texting people and pay attention to it, because even if you don't get attacked, you go walk out into traffic.
We're going to make a law against that this very moment. No more walking and texting, because I'm guilty of it too. I've hit people with shopping baskets before.
I've done it too.
And lastly, if you have the opportunity to learn a martial art, whether it's jiu-jitsu or anything else, learn it. Because you're going to get that confidence. You're going to a lot of those things that we just talked about, the situational awareness and everything. You're going to learn those things taking that martial art.
That's awesome. Yeah, very good.
So you always got somebody behind you when you take a martial art. You have that family. You have that bond and all that kind of stuff, and you're going to learn all of those things in it.
That's amazing. Awesome. All right, Datha, got any final words?
We got to kick some booty.
You're never at a loss for words,
No, I'm never at a loss of words. I'm going to learn how to fight.
Yes.
I'm going to have to.
Everyone, that's one of those things that everyone should learn how to do.
I was learning.
Everyone should learn how to fight.
I was really good at it.
Yes. Well, we're going to see you in action soon, I'm sure.
Oh.
So
next time I come, I'll bring some mats.
Yes.
I'm going to have to get Tim to brush up the swinging action, though.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to learn how to swing again. But I'm good at it.
I'm going to tell you, next time I come, I'll bring some mats. I'll bring some pads. And,
it'd be awesome.
We'll do some jiu-jitsu and some kickboxing.
Oh, Lord. Somebody's going to get hurt.
That's good.
That's good.
We'll bring our handheld cameras and we'll film everything.
Yeah.
Make a little video
I'd love to.
That'd be awesome.
Oh my God. Everybody's going to watch that.
I'd love to.
Well,
that'll be your highest rated podcast right there.
I bet it will.
We get her on the mats and everybody will watch that.
That is awesome. Well, all right.
I can't do it in my Avengers dress.
Right.
No.
Yeah, we'll get you all comfortable so you can do it. You get some tennis shoes on, some sweatpants or whatever. All right, Datha. So close us out with some words from PointCompReporter.com.
Yeah, y'all need to check out PointCompReporter.com. It's online. It's got some good news, some good information. Got some interesting media articles. Y'all check it out. PointCompReporter.com.
Absolutely. So with that being said, this is David K. Gyro, and with our special guest today, we had Mr. Roman David Pizzolato. And we're going to have you definitely back on again in the future.
Awesome.
If you want to come back.
I look forward to it. Yes, I'd love to.
Well, yeah, because now he's going to have to fight me.
Yeah.
Thanks,
right.
Dave. How much money are they going to put on this?
And I'm going to see if I can bring a couple of my girls from the gym, so it'll be
right.
I'll bring a girl you can fight.
I can't fight.
Yeah, put her on her level. Yes. Yeah,
we're
gonna
bad.
No, I'm not gonna say anything. Okay. All right, so here we go. We're gonna sign out. Everybody, make sure you like and share this video on YouTube. Share it to your friends. Subscribe, and get this video out here. Tune into the Dave K Show, and we will see you next time. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.
Bye-bye.